I'm going to be churning this $50 into $50,000 trading. And if you want to take my exact trades, I'll be documenting this entire journey on my Instagram and Telegram. So be sure that you click in the description down below. But in terms of the actual challenge, how am I going to do this? Now, this isn't the first time that I've actually flipped my account. And the only difference in this challenge is that I'm just simply not going to withdraw until I hit my target. Even this morning, I had an account flip from $400 to $5,000. And I have flipped my live account countless times before. This isn't about over leveraging or over risking. It's about picking and choosing the right trades, knowing how to separate your A+ setup from the B and C setups, and making sure that you only layer in positions towards your A+ setups that are going to hit their take profit. Now, what is my plan and what are some questions that a lot of people ask that I'm going to answer for you in this video? First things first is, what leverage are we going to be using? Now, people already know that with only $50 and any small amount of live capital, you're going to have to use higher leverage to actually place trades that are going to flip your account. And this means we're going to be using a higher amount of leverage, not 1 to 200 or 1 to 300. We're going to start with a minimum of 1 to 500, and I'm going to give you guys the broker later in this video that we're going to use for this challenge. Now, just as easily as you can place high risk positions to make money on the account, you can also use those same high risk positions to blow your account if you're wrong. So we have to be very careful with how we layer in positions and when we go break even to make our trades risk free. The second question, and one of the most important ones because obviously you guys want to follow along, is when will the challenge begin? The challenge will be beginning in September 1st. That's when all of the accounts should be set up, and you should have complete access to the Telegram group that I'm going to be doing all the trade breakdowns and trade recaps of all the setups that I send out and trade. Am I going to be sharing the lot sizes? Now, obviously, because we're using high leverage, lot size is going to be one of the most important things because that's actually how much risk you're placing on a trade. So yes, I'm going to be sharing the exact lot size on every trade that I take. I will be screenshotting every trade that I take and sending it out in the group so that you guys can see the before and after of every trade that's going to get me to the $50,000. Another question is, what time am I going to be trading in? The majority of my trades come from Asia sessions, so typically around 5 p.m. PST. But if the setup doesn't present itself in Asia, you'll see me also trading London and New York. So it mainly just depends on when my setup presents itself. Your goal shouldn't be copying my exact trades, but actually learning how to place them yourself. Because the reason why I'm confident in doing a challenge like this is because I mastered my model to the point where it doesn't matter how much money I'm tossing on the line. What matters is that I actually wait for my setup and get in and out at the right time with no emotions involved. Now, how long could it take? We can't be sure, but my goal for this challenge is to do it in about 60 days. Now, this is obviously going to depend on how well we actually do in the market, right? I can't predict how much I'm going to make in a single trade. I can't predict how good the price action is going to be during the time that we're trading. So it's obviously going to depend on a lot of other factors, but it will go until we get to 50,000. Now, one of the biggest questions that people had was, what happens if we blow the account? When I say that I'm going to do a challenge from $50 to 50,000, that means I'm going to do a challenge from $50 to $50,000. Now, because a lot of people also want to follow along on this challenge, I'm going to try really hard not to blow the account because it's going to be a lifeline for a lot of people. If I see a lot of other people making money alongside me, it's going to make me really happy. But in the case that we do blow the account, I'm going to redeposit and start the challenge again. I'm giving myself 3 attempts at this challenge. So if I blow the account 3 times, I'm going to call it a loss, and that's where the challenge is going to end. But stay tuned for the ride because as long as I follow my plan, that is not going to happen. Even the first account should get us to the target. In terms of the broker that we're going to be using, it's going to be GatesFX. And there are 2 platforms on GatesFX. You can either use MetaTrader 5 or TradeLocker. So you have the option of choosing one of the 2 platforms. The other thing is that you have 1 to 500 or 1 to 1000 leverage. You also don't have to start with $50. That's what I'm going to be starting with. If you start with 500 and you end up taking these same trades, who knows, you might end up at 100,000. GatesFX lets you use as much accounts as you want, and you can even use EAs if you want. But why would you need one of those when you have me? Now, without further ado, let's get this challenge started. I will be turning $50 into $50,000. And if you want to follow along, be sure that you slide in the Telegram and follow my Instagram. See you guys on the inside.